how do you tell your parents that, hey guys, I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to be a typical whatever the job is. I want to play music. I want to play African music. I want to connect people all over the world. And what is the reaction?
Your brother is doing music. And we need to see this thing works. So you can't be doing this thing.
Okay.
Or rather, we are sort of anxious of you pursuing this field because it is always a struggle for many young creatives to actually make a living and to make ends meet with their creative process and careers.
So how do you create music that speaks to a problem without, I don't know what the word is, without cancelling yourself or without being cancelled.
Without being the problem.
Or without being the problem. Christianity did come to certain African countries in a very interesting and often violent way, and you are an African child who wants to use the music and the sounds of the ancestors who might have or might have not been Christians. How do you reconcile that?
Sure. It's always a very interesting topic.
From Gukatyane in the Eastern Cape left home with only one thing he wanted to do. He wanted to live his life as a musician who was connecting people with African sounds and African music. Asakhe Cuntsulana is a renowned South African musician and educator who prides himself in cultural exchanges and describes himself as a visionary musician. Through instruments that he plays, such as the Adungu, Uhadi, and Kalamba, he has connected people from all walks of life. I am so excited to have him in studio with us, Apa Eziko. Thank you for coming.
Mama, I made it.
You're on the pod, my friend.
Yes, man. Thank you so much, Zumkita. It's such an honor to be with you. This is my first podcast, so yeah.
Really?
We're getting there.
A visionary musician like yourself.
We have arrived.
All right, so I have this thing where when you come on the pod, I ask you, because Useziko, a place of warmth, a place of, where visions and dreams ignite. I want to ask you, what has ignited your soul lately?
Yeah, so it was a very busy past week. I'm a music teacher, So with my colleagues, I actually started the staff marimba band and staff choir. Very ambitious, outgoing. And it was just so nice and heartwarming to see them grow and develop their skill and the appreciation of music. Because as teachers, when we teach students in the classroom, we really forget the process of learning, stumbling, growing, learning, and finally getting it. So that's what has been on my mind recently, how they are growing and how they're developing their skill in music.
Wow, you're very ambitious because you're a musician, a full-time musician.
Yes.
You're an educator and you still tour, right?
Yes.
And then you also give private music lessons.
That is correct.
And you also manage a couple of other things in corporate and whatever. So that's an insane, how do you schedule your life? How do you...
Yeah. Look, for the longest time, it was always a hustle and bustle, trying to see what works and what does not. One of the things that has really helped me for the past 2 years is building systems. So for my performances and for different bookings that I do get from time to time, I've got a website. It's called Italale Africa. So that's where most of my work is housed. So my music, my stuff on literature, my compositions, my arrangements with different schools and choirs. And then calendar helps a lot with reminders. But also when it comes to building systems, I just love Google Forms. Google Forms just helps me with organizing my life,
Yeah.
So I've got forms for different things, for booking, for consulting, for private music lessons, piano, guitar, recorder, voice, and so whatnot, as well as just having a support system, home, my person, the one behind the capture. So that really does help. And ultimately, my spiritual well-being is what really helps me to achieve all these things. Because if it is not about God and doing all this for His glory and for His honor, then I'm just losing a sense of direction.
Not interested,
Yeah.
Let's take it back though. So I did say, Uguti, you play Uhadi, you play Kalamba, you play Adungu, and all of these wonderful instruments. What business does a young black man from the Eastern Cape have of leaving home, not to say, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a lawyer, instead of all of that, which we've been raised to go after those professional professions that will give you money, right? Because creativity usually in black communities is not the first point of this is how you're going to make a living, through creativity, through your natural talents. So how do you tell your parents that, hey guys, I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to be a typical whatever the job is. I want to play music. I want to play African music. I want to connect people all over the world. And what is the reaction?
Look, man, music started when I was still at primary school level, singing in choir. It's something that I did not think I would pursue full-time as a career. But it was later on, after grade 9, where I had to choose between two fields. I was very passionate about business and accounting. I mean, when I was still at school, I would sell amangqine nkuku, And then thereafter, I had to choose between music as well as business. And music was my first call. So I left the Eastern Cape. I left my home town, which is Willowvale, Kukatyane, Evo-Vice. I went straight to PE at Gqeberha. That's where I started doing music at grade 10 up to grade 12 level. And this is something not unique to me from the Cuntsulana family. But my brother was already at university level at NMU doing music.
Wow, okay.
Now, so the family was like, your brother is doing music. And we need to see this thing works. So you can't be doing this thing.
Okay.
Or rather, we are sort of anxious of you pursuing this field because it is always a struggle for many young creatives to actually make a living and to make ends meet with their creative process and careers. So it was a difficult one because it was something that I had not known on what avenues I could pursue further with music. Not only performance, writing, scoring, composing, arranging, as well as performance ultimately. So many people, when they think about music, they think of just only performing. And there's also other aspects of music. So after matric, I went straight to Rhodes. That's where we met, studying music full time. And with this aspect of my music education, I studied classical music. Now, for me, classical music was going to be at a disadvantage because I was singing German, Italian, and French. And that felt as disjointed from my community. How will people relate to my music? How will people come to my shows? What message am I carrying with these songs? So I completely left classical music to African music now. That's where I got to acquire these instruments like the Kalamba, the Adungu, Uhadi, learning all these different instruments and different techniques and throwing from other African countries like Senegal, Gambia, Mali, and the likes.
Wow. And then how did you convince your parents? Did you have to give a pitch or you just did your own thing and you went to school? And was there like a pitch that you had to convince them? And for me, I want to ask, since there was anxiety at home,
Sure.
and your brother is studying music, but we haven't seen him perform yet. We haven't
Sure.
seen him make a living. For you, what did you have to tell yourself that this dream was worth it? Did you always know that you were going to make it?
I did not know that I would make it, eh? I will not lie at all. Because when I was still at the Rhodes, Makhanda is a very vibrant cultural scene, especially during the National Arts Festival. So that's where I had given myself a trial run of, does this thing really work? But also because of my personality and being involved with community engagement, that's where I actually started consulting at university level. So in my second year, I started to work as a music director already. So I worked in the cathedrals, St. Michael's Cathedral in Makhanda, teaching marimba. So my kids, for like 5 years, they were just doing debuts at the National Arts Festival. So that was one confirmation. Now I could afford my own toiletries, I could buy myself some snacks and all those things, you know. And from time to time, payana. And then thereafter, I took it to another level where I was now coaching different schools around Makhanda. And that was also money into my account. So I could now travel home and have umngenandlini and be able to go to church and have umnikelo, you know, all those things. So from my way of life and the way in which I was doing things with my music education, that was confirmation enough for them to trust my process and my way of life and this calling in music. And then thereafter, I started now to acquire these instruments and then organizing my own concerts and performing and just moving around the country and the world as well. They're like, yeah, yes, I
Very true. How long did it take for you to actually feel like you're an artist? Feel like you were the real deal?
Yeah. Look, man, I think for me, it started in 2019. That was when I was just finishing my studies. When I hosted my first concert. It was such a long concert, actually. So before that concert, I had an honor and the privilege to have worked with this young, amazing violinist, Neo Mutsatsa. And in 2018, we were doing songs of Dorothy Masuka, amazing legend, jazz musician, you know. So when I had first entered that phase of my career and of my life, being a chorus master, getting together different musicians and working around contracts, agreements and NAF and all those things, it was very exciting for me. And that's where really I started to learn the business of music, working with other artists and creatives, and also working on a big production for NAF. So 2018 upwards, that was like, we're going and not looking back.
Wow, that's beautiful. So what I'm hearing is a lot of expose yourself, collaborate,
Sure.
and try to learn as much as you can, because there's so many ways to get to where you need to go, through conducting, through productions, through this and that. But if you are going to be a musician, learn the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end. What does it take to be a musician? Because I feel like a lot of us, like you said earlier, a lot of us are it's just about the music, right? We don't know what it is to learn and like just, I don't know what the word is, but to engage and to research and to throw ourselves into something and understand all of it. So I think that's very important, especially for young musicians. It's okay to be talented. it's amazing, but talent is not the whole thing.
Sure.
It's half the conversation, right?
Definitely.
And you did speak about systems early. So what other parts of your personality do you think have helped you in being a successful musician? And you are independent, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so look, one of the privileges for me was being part of a choir. I think choir really enabled me to understand systems, but also what it takes to put on a production. So in Makhanda, I was part of the Rhodes Chamber Choir, and with our first international tour, went straight to Namibia 2016, and then 2017, part of Makhanda Kwantu Choir. I was actually in 3 choirs.
I remember.
Every week, non-stop.
Yeah.
You know? So from that process of how you perform, bowing, the dress code, the performance etiquette, all those things, I took on to apply them to my own career path. And with music, it leans mainly on collaboration, you know. So when I started my first collaboration, it was with the Makhanda Kwantu Choir in 2019, 2020, where we were doing a production called Weisile, Overcome. And this was a funded production. It was still there on YouTube, on NEF, as well as on different social platforms like Instagram and Facebook for Kwantu Choir. And this was a very exciting production because for the first time we got to record the choir in studio at ILM. You know,
That's ILM, International
Library of African
Library. Music.
Yes. Yeah, I almost said African instruments because I play African instruments. So ILM was another phase now of my career that, there's also the recording, there's the production aspect of things. And there's also now the presenting this body of work to the public, which is the marketing and also different ways to communicate the message behind the song, you know. So I learned this thing from Kutlwano Kepadisa, who's a very close friend of mine.
My God, he's amazing. He's an amazing human being.
Amazing conductor and chorus master. All Kwantu posters were designed by him. Literally.
And this was pre-AI posters.
Before AI posters, before feeding AI all the info. So from that aspect of learning to do things yourself before you hire a professional so that you know what it takes to do it, but also so that you know this is the quality and level I want my work to be at, then it becomes easier to be like, no, I want it like this. You get to be assertive with what you want and you get to be able to communicate your idea and your goal. So that really helped me a lot that, okay, I can learn these things. I'll stumble and fall. My first poster was, hey, Kobe. And that was 2019.
We need to find that poster.
No. Don't go on my Insta. Yeah, but that was my first poster. One of the key things from any production I do is, what can I improve?
Yeah.
So that this production is better, it is refined, but also it appeals to a much more bigger and broader audience.
Immerse yourself in all aspects of your art and your craft. Tell me now, the African instruments and the African music and sounds and the indigenous sounds, why was it so important for you to focus on this? Because you are very adamant about the power of African music. And, yes, it connects people, it brings people together. There's so much history that it carries for our people all over the world. Why was it so important that you continue this message, and how does it link to you personally?
Sure. So for the longest time in my life, I've always been singing Western classical music. From choirs, 4-part harmony, Isdibili, all those things. And then at uni level, that's when I started singing French, Italian, and German, like I mentioned earlier on as well. But now, for me, it was a challenge. I was like, yes, I can sing. I've learned the technique of classical singing, and I've learned the technique of bel canto, which is beautiful singing. So I know the basics. I know my way around my instrument, which is my voice. However, there's the language barrier. And I felt very, very important for me that I need a way that will represent where I come from the Eastern Cape, isiXhosa, but ultimately an instrument that can at least help me carry these messages across. So my first instrument was the violin. I bought a violin. It only lasted in my house for 24 hours. I said, no, this can't be. 24 hours because it's a difficult instrument, it's a melodic instrument. So I just divorced it because, again, it's a Western classical instrument. So I then at ILM, that's where I saw these different instruments like the mbira, amadinda, akadinda, nyatiti, endingidi, the adungu, the kora, and the likes. So in terms of African harps, the kora is very, very popular from West Africa. So I felt like I need something that will be different, but still unique to my own heritage and also be able to carry these songs. So I took on the Adungu. And the Adungu, the acquisition of the Adungu is an interesting story because I saw this guy playing the Adungu online, like, this is great stuff, man. Sent him a comment, said, I would love to learn this instrument. I'm based in South Africa. How can I get it? Like, you know what? Send me $100. Back then it was about 1,300 rands. Took a leap of faith, went on to FNB, opened an account so that I can send the money that side. I think there are systems like Mukuro now that do that kind of stuff. So I sent the money to him and then he sent it to me. To this day, I have 3 Adungus from the same guy.
Wow.
Mind you, we have not met in person.
It's a whole friendship. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a bromance that I love. Yeah.
So ever since then, I started on to play the Adungu, practicing, mimicking, looking at others.
And you taught yourself. So this was not taught.
No. This was not formal education.
Formally, okay.
This was informally. I wouldn't say I self-taught because when you steal ideas from other people, that's actually learning and growing one's craft. So the way in which I play my Adungu is an influence of different cultures and communities. So traditionally it's played within an ensemble. So there will be a soprano Adungu, alto, tenor, and bass Adungu. But myself, I played as an accompanying instrument and sometimes a solo instrument. And I took mainly the kora style of playing the harp, which would be melody, bass, as well as harmony with the instrument as well. So when I play my Adungu, you'll feel as if there's 4 people playing the instrument.
Wow.
Just because of its nature and its versatility as well as an instrument. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, tell me about these stories. What are these stories that need to be told through these instruments? Sure. So you said you felt like, there was a disconnect, right, between who you are and where you come from and, the music that you were singing at the time. So what are some of the stories that you feel are very important and that you tell through your songs? What would you say is the main message of your music and your talent?
Sure. Ingoma Zethemba, songs of hope and restoration. So with each and every concert that I put on, there's 3 themes that I highlight, which is restoration, reflection, as well as rejuvenation. And during the years 2015 and 2016, would know that there was an uproar from students, Fees Must Fall. So some of my songs also touch on that era or that time, and also the generational trauma that exists in Black communities. There's this one song which is Isingqala. You know Isingqala, when you've cried so much.
And you're like,
and then I don't know what they call it in English.
I don't think they even have a word. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I had this driving question of why are Black people, a lot of them, across different cultures and communities, they are so scared of dogs? And my answer was, it's because of generational trauma. I'm scared of dogs. Maybe you are scared. I'm scared of dogs.
I was when I was a kid. I'm better now, yeah.
So it's because of generational trauma. So there's this lingering trauma within Black communities and Black people of the fear of dogs. And we know where it comes from.
We do.
Like in apartheid, Black men and Black women were chased using dogs, I mean, you look at the Soweto uprising as well. You look at Sharpeville massacre and all these different things that has happened in our history, in our past, that we have something that is lingering in our minds. We are free politically, but mentally we are still in bondages.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And I've always said, I grew up listening to Utatu Oliver Mtukudzi, listening to Mami Yvonne Chaga Chaga, listening to all these greats and how they spoke about what was happening, in their times. And we know, as this generation, we know what happened to, that generation because of their music. And a lot back in the day, a lot of artists used to be activists through their music. And so I feel that from you, not certainly advocacy to an extreme level, but being honest about what is happening. For example, what happened with us, because we are part of Fees Must Fall.
Yeah.
We were in it was our first year, I think.
Yes.
And Fees Must Fall happened. So how do you balance not isolating anyone and talking about something that is a cancer to our society? Without saying many things, I will say you do know what's happening right now in Africa and how Africa is divided with everything that's happening in South Africa. And I would think that that's something that you would write about or you would allude to. So how do you create music that speaks to a problem without, I don't know what the word is, without cancelling yourself or without being cancelled.
Without being the problem.
Or without being the problem,
Sure.
without protecting your brand
Sure.
while you being honest and authentic. Because I feel like, such a long question, but I feel like in this day and age, it's so hard to be authentic, as an artist, because you can get cancelled anytime. So authenticity often lacks. People are just replicating what they're hearing in people's stories, and it's hard to dig deep and say, this is what I think about this very deep matter. So how do you navigate that?
Yeah. One of the difficult things earlier on when I started with my career was finding a space that will accommodate the message that I have to carry, I'm a very spiritual person. So I'm a Christian. I believe in God as the one truth. So asserting that with performances was always, I don't want to disturb the status quo, but also I don't want to stumble on people's toes. So it took me time to actually share my faith through my music and through my performances. But on your question on speaking to the social climate of the society and the community and speaking against certain things, music and poetry, they have such an incredible power whereby you won't necessarily be casting stones on people, but you are warning them, taking heed that this thing is happening. Are you realizing this thing? One of the songs I'd written recently was about, is it a matter of the black nation does not have that divine wisdom from Umbelingang, that we are always fighting, always struggling, or sometimes there's never harmony, There's this element of Ubuntu within the African continent, but we don't see it from each other, and it's all because of jealousy. And I do believe that ultimately it's because there is no God in the person. Because God is love, God is gracious, God is caring, God wants everyone to be built, all those things. So the spirit that resides in people is a spirit that is mainly focused on disunity, focused on oppression, focused on suffering. So we need that grain of truth, which is Umbelingang. The song I was referring to is Asiphiwanga yini na ingqiqo, asidalwanga yini na nguThixo, xeshikweni kufika madla kusha, ingcuke ezivathu filelwe kusha. So it's a genuine interest for people to just be well and be one with truth. So I haven't found myself in the firing line of
hot water.
Why are you doing this? Because I'm genuinely interested. I just want people.
It's curiosity.
Yes.
It's let's think. Let's come together and find solutions and question why we are the way that we are.
Exactly.
Can I probe a little bit about the faith and about the kind of music that you make and Christianity? Now, a lot of people that are making indigenous African music are not often Christians, in my experience.
Sure.
I'm sure there are, such as yourself. But in my experience, especially as a Black child, Christianity and indigenous African spirituality or knowledge or music do not often go hand in hand. And so how do you reconcile that? Because there is an aspect of Christianity did come to certain African countries in a very interesting and often violent way, and you are an African child who wants to use the music and the sounds of the ancestors who might have or might have not been Christians. How do you reconcile that?
Sure. It's always a very interesting topic, or rather debate, amongst people as well. And one of my responses to that is, when someone comes in the name of love and they manipulate you, they gaslight you, they traumatize you, they kill you, they hurt you, is love in essence a bad thing? Or them hiding behind the banner of love a bad thing? Same with Christianity and belief and different belief systems. In one way or another, they've been received in various communities not in a good light. And sometimes these people have come with those belief systems or those religions to exploit, to distort, as well as to take away people's faith and hope. When I had looked at African cultures and belief systems, I had found that actually Africans had always believed in God.
Yes.
And they would all gather and go to the mountaintop.
That's why you have
proximity.
Different names for God. Modimo, Mvelinqangi, Nkulunkulu.
You know?
Yeah.
So we had always believed in God. But when Christianity as a religion came in these shores, that's when now most missionaries used it to exploit, to distort, to rob, and to kill using religion in the name of God, which is so, so unfortunate. But I'm not surprised that continues to happen. I mean, even now, there are different ministers and pastors in the house of the Lord, where they're dooming people, snakes, all those things, you know. Those things, they were foretold to happen because the devil seeks to destroy, to distract, and always to confuse. It just creates a lot of confusion, you know. So looking at our belief systems and faith and customs and all those things, I'm always of a genuine belief that with God and actively pursuing, seeking the truth, we will always shred away those lies.
Wow, that's incredible. And where do you stand with your music or the instruments that you play being somewhat, not even somewhat, being synonymous to African spirituality? Because African spirituality is very musical, right? If you go into a trance, for example, as I don't know what they call it, but if you go into a trance and mhlambi will say ufuna uyotwasa into enjalo, they play drums.
Yes.
They sing songs and you dance and you dance and you dance and you go into a trance and whatever happens. There's a lot of intersection with spirituality and music in African culture, right? And so my question then would be, yes, you are a Christian. Where do you stand on your music being African music? Is it devoid of African culture and spirituality?
It is devoid of African spirituality.
Okay.
But
and how is
culture,
that so?
Yes. So the messaging behind my music and to whom I devote these songs to is very, very much different. So you take the instrument like Uhadi, for instance, which is a one-string closable harp. Generally, people would play it within a certain context, whether in Hlombe, like the drums as well, or kusemgidini, or imbeleko, all those different contexts. But these instruments, for me, I play them in the context of yearning and also appeasing God, so to speak, you know. I play them to devote my craft and my music unto God. So whatever we do, if we do it in the name of something in particular, then we are surrendering that gift unto that person. So with most African instruments, they would be synonymous to ancestry. But for me, these instruments were long written in the Bible. I mean, David, the psalmist, played the harp for King Saul when they were tormenting spirits, you know. Even there it says that in Psalm, play the trumpet and worship unto God. I think there's a story in the Bible whereby these guys, they were playing trumpets and then indonga zachiriko zawa, you know?
Yeah.
So each and every instrument has a spirit of its own. But now it is up to the musician now who is engulfed by a certain spirit on what message they transmit using the instrument. Tell you what, a drum is not evil in any way or format. But what the musician does with the drum, then you will say it's for good or it's for bad. Yeah.
So it's like a tool in anyone's hand is just a tool, but in the right hands or in the wrong hands,
yes,
it changes. Wow. Okay, well, thank you for that. I think you are allowed to have your own identity. And these are instruments that are part of your identity. You are a Black Xhosa man in South Africa who has talent and wants to worship God, the God that you believe in, which is the Christian God. And so I think it's an interesting thing, though I'm sure this is not the first time someone has asked you about this. And I'm sure for the rest of your career, you'll have to reconcile with the fact that if you are deeply connected to African culture and music, then there's also a connection to African spirituality. And people will ask you, where do you stand and what's that vibe? And so, yeah, I think this has been a beautiful conversation. Is there anything that you would like to, as we are parting the conversation, is there anything that you'd like to, advise young musicians?
Sure.
Because what I'm gathering is that you found your identity. It's a pretty solid identity, and it's one that is based on God, on your culture, on spreading positivity. And so for someone who wants to be a musician, how do you have a solid identity and then work your talents around that identity? How did you come to where you are? And what would you advise, other advices?
Sure. I think it was Zahara who said, umuntu ongaziyo apha suka khona ufana nongaziyo apha yakhona. So knowing where you come from, your humble beginnings, is very, very, very important. For me, church has always been the foundation of the music that I create and the music that I make. So everything that I sing about is not devoid or divorcing my faith and my upbringing and my religion, So I'm always uprooted in spirit. And it has taken some time to actually be firm and stand in that truth and that reality. So for many people who want to pursue music or are still finding their own path, I think it is always very, very important to find yourself first. There's nothing that is enriching than pursuing yourself first. Knowing your interest, knowing your belief system, your customs, your culture, your heritage, and ultimately your calling to action, your call in life, Many people, they struggle with the music business because what they sing about is devoid of what the industry looks like, So contracts and what you sign up for and what you sing for and what you sing about plays a big role. I mean, one of the most affirming things in my career was when there was a possible feature for an alcohol brand, which I'll not mention. I said, this guy is singing nice songs, and these are African instruments. And African instruments, African spirituality, ancestry, they go hand in hand. Is he open to actually sing about this brand? And then my person was like, I don't think he will agree to that.
Wow, you turned down a check?
Sure,
and I'm sure it was a big check.
Girl, tell you what, So many people, they would say, you had lost so much, you could have, But I think when the right opportunity meets you at the right time and God is at the center of it all, it will always work out. I mean, I've never thought I would tour the world with the music that I create and the instruments that I carry. But because of God being part and parcel of my whole process, I've been to Norway, I'm off to South America now.
Period. Okay.
So it's so exciting and it's such a blessing in overall that I'm able to do all these things. So for anyone really pursuing music, they first and foremost need to work on their talent and their skill. It's one thing to be a good musician. It's another thing to be a good business person. So contracts are very, very important. I can't stress this enough. Contracts are important. Speak to your lawyer friends, make connections. Be like, what is this thing saying?
One thing about you use your community. Like, you will send me something like that has to do with what I'm doing, like whether it's media or whatever, and you're like, please check this out. You do use your community
because
for sure.
We are not islands. We need Abantu, and Ubuntu, that's where it comes in.
Sure.
You need to practice day in, day out.
For sure.
Because, I mean, look, man, my first gig, I had a contract. My second gig, I was like, it's just my friends. I will not use a contract. And then, boom, cut me, bite me. So lessons every time.
Yeah. And actually, do tell me about that. The challenges that you did not see coming. What were some of the challenges that you went through in your music career?
Sure.
Let's say top 3.
Top 3, ne? Okay. The first one, which is very common with either performing musicians or even people who consult on music, as well as people who teach music privately. The costing, fee, rate. How much is enough? How much should I charge? Am I undercharging? Am I overcharging? Or I'm just there. My first concert was 50 rands. Now my tickets are 300 rands.
Period.
Yeah, so there's growth, But also one of the things that helped me with pricing, or rather the fee, I said for myself, that was 2019, said I would love to charge a lesson 600 rands. At that time, the lesson was like 150 or so. And to this day, I'm beyond what I'd already envisioned back in 2019. And then the second thing is working and collaborating with other musicians, managing relationships, personalities, and all those things. What helps a lot of the time is just having a memorandum of understanding. Other people, they call it engagement letter, others call it contracts, but I think that really helps. And with AI, you can just be like, I'm working on this project. What are the various clauses I could add in, like punctuality? Punctuality is very, very important. Being of sober mind.
Can I just say that he arrived 2 hours? Was it? He arrived 1 hour before we are supposed to start filming. So
this is business.
Punctuality,
It shows that you respect your craft, but you also respect people. And then the third one, which also ties in with your professionalism, is just being prepared. Like being prepared. So with a lot of opportunities that have come my way, it was because the opportunity came at a point where I was already prepared for that opportunity. So I could take it up, So go and do your passport now, because you don't know. 2 months down the line, there's an international gig. Be ready.
That's coming.
Do your due diligence. Have your performance kit, your media content, collaborate with Abantu Bafana Nawe, be there, and then ask people to take professional videos and photos of yourself so that you can show the work that you do, because people want a point of reference. So be prepared.
My goodness. See, that you mentioned so many things that I could go on and on and on about, but the preparation thing, I always talk about Uncle Waffles, and my partner who's behind the camera would tell you this. I'm always making an example of her that when that video went viral, right? There was a video of her DJing and she's DJing and she's dancing and whatever. And I think it went viral, and then Drake saw it and said something about it, and then it went super viral, right? And then after that, in my mind, I'm like, another person would have just been like, okay, I'm just a DJ who went viral and Drake reposted. And that's it, right? And then maybe a song or two. But I think what I saw from her, it was as if she was waiting, because she released EPs, she released songs, she was touring, she was ready. She already had a brand, she already had an identity. I was like, was this hand waiting for this? Did she know it's going to happen? And I think that's one of the most beautiful things ever. If you are an artist, pretend like you already are there where you want to go. Prepare like you are already there. And it's such a powerful thing, because your moment can come at any time.
Literally.
And you need to just be like, go, 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 go.
Sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things with preparation is also to pay tuition, school fees.
Okay.
So Zimkita will be like, Asakhe, come through to my podcast. I don't know how big this episode will go.
Yeah.
But I come in. I'm like, this is a good collaboration opportunity for me. It is good for my brand, for my music, also good for you. So we are creating something more than money, We're exchanging ideas, exchanging expression, thoughts, as well as different things that we could achieve, And then sometimes with a lot of artists, when they are starting out, they're always putting money at the forefront, which is important, which is good as well, but it is always weighing in, what does this opportunity or this collaboration bring to me? How does it benefit me? I've worked with different artists in the industry, different people in media, like photography, video, news, as well as writing articles. And when I had first engaged with those people, there was nothing whatsoever about the cost. It was about exchange. I was like, ooh, good content for my photos. Then I have professional photos now. Then they have music. So it's always about weighing in what will work for you and advancing your own career.
I have mixed feelings about that.
Sure.
I agree with you, but I feel like we're at a point where sometimes it becomes exploitation, where someone wants something and, we'll give you exposure. You know, and you need money. You guys, we need money.
Sure.
You know, trying to start something off the ground, you need money, and you need people to come and say, hey, can you please do this at this amount? Or other times, like you're doing, you can just do it pro bono because you can see the bigger vision. But it's a balance, right? It's a balancing act of having the foresight of saying, okay, beyond money, if I don't lead with money here, what other opportunities can come now or in the future? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think
it's a balancing act.
Yeah, you don't necessarily do it pro bono, but it's about how do we both benefit from this collaborative effort that we're doing.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, there was one point, this guy, I had performed at his show, and then he initially was like, I'm going to manage your social media for 6 months.
Okay.
One performance, 5 minutes, 6 months, social media.
That's a good deal.
You know?
That's a great deal. Yeah, for sure. So it's trade, like we did back in the day in Africa.
Battering.
Let's
go.
Before we close the show, I am so happy and so privileged that Asakhe could join us, Ezigo, and he has agreed to grace us with his voice one more time before he leaves us. This is Asakhe Cuntsulana with Wena Wedwa playing on the Adungu.
Ekuqaleni umhlaba uselubala kwakukwindoda engulizwi umveliqala umdali wadala izulu nomhlaba nakho konke sathengwa ngelokazi lakhe elinqabileyo ngumdali ingakho sithi kuwe Nkosi siyacama kusha kuwe Yesu sizondla la phambi kwa throne yakho kuwe mdali sithi bayethe kuwe Nkosi yezulu wena ngonyama Yesu Nkosi Yesu siyacama kusha sithi kuwe Nkosi yezulu sithi bayethe konyama yezulu kayole njikalanga siza kuwe sizobulela mdali sitake kofana nawe sithi wena wedwa uyingcwele wena wedwa unamandla wena wedwa uthembekile wena wedwa 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 wanqoba ithuna wena wedwa Nkosi yezulu sithi wena wedwa uyingcwele wena wedwa uthembekile wena wedwa Nkosi Yesu wena wedwa.
I think that's about it. Thank you so much for coming, Buti. You know I love you. You know I'm always rooting for you. You know we're always collaborating beyond this. I'm glad that we've reached a point where we are now collaborating on my podcast. That is amazing. Man. And you're going to South America, right?
Yes,
after this.
In August.
In August.
I'm down to the Gramscan Festival doing Onyana Walahle with the Prodigal Son. Again, spirituality and the Bible coming in there with that title. But thank you so much for hosting me, for inviting me.
Of course.
This is such a great honor and privilege, you know, with Uzimkita Kweza.
Uzimkita Kweza.
Wow. Guys, this is a media mogul, guys. Better watch the space.
Period.
This podcast is going places. So be on the lookout.
Thank you so much, Buti. And thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope we fed your souls. I hope you feel inspired and you try to be authentic in everything that you do. You are grounded in God. And like our guest, you like to spread positivity into the world. And I will see you next time. I love you. Bye.